If everybody had a 12 gauge and a surfboard too, you see them shooting and surfing from here to Malibu. Because it's totally bitchin', riding waves to blast clay pigeons, and it's so neat shooting ski while you're riding on the heavies all day.
Well, amazingly, the first role that Val Kilmer was ever cast in is arguably, and you'll be arguing with me if you say otherwise, is his best, Top Secret, a film that he brings leading man charm, he brings laughs, great comedic timing, and he also sings the amazing song we're hearing now, Skeet Surfing. There's a lot to talk about, and there was so much activity online talking about the passing of Val Kilmer. I was like, well, damn it, we need to do a show. And if I'm going to do a show and I'm going to talk about movies, of course, I want to bring the great Cayley from Once Over with Cayley, a.k.a. Lucy Tightbox. Thank you for being here, Cayley.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I want to dance. You
should, actually. I should have told you all to, one, bring your surfboards, and two, bring your skeet shooting guns. Someone who always shows up with guns, and by that I mean, the gun show. Adam Hughezy, the H-Man Hughes. Hello, sir. Thank you for being here. You basically got roped into this because you were saying the same thing I was about how great Top Secret was. And I'm like, oh, this guy gets it. He agrees with me.
Top Secret is not only great, but Val Kilmer went on to do a better comedy, which we'll speak about later. And on the topic of Top Secret, they just released the trailer for the reboot of Naked Gun, and I can't believe that there's already people hating on it. They haven't even fucking seen it. They've seen 80 seconds of it and they go, oh, it's no good, it's no good. Shut up, you dickheads, it's going to be great.
Cayley, our buddy American Cupcake, was talking about how he wasn't impressed by it. Speaking of being unimpressed, from the All Apologies podcast, the great Trucker Andy. By the way, thank you for being Trucker Andy and not Andy Q Public. I think that that's that period where Prince turned his name to that symbol, and then eventually he's like, just fucking call me Prince.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm not afraid to admit that I make mistakes. Just like you should not be afraid to admit that Top Secret is Val Kilmer's best movie. There's plenty to argue about.
He does it all, and that's why. By the way, that is not my hottest take for this episode. Don't worry. I did a freeze frame on one of my favorite things, which is showing how big Nick Rivers was. He had the top 4 slots, the fourth slot being Nick Rivers and Tammy Wynette, your skeeting heart. Oh my gosh, some jokes don't age well. But when you're old like me, you also don't age well. So you see, it all really works out. And the reason why I'm spending so much time talking about Top Secret is because it is his first role. And I don't think I realized that at the time. I thought Real Genius was before this. This is literally the Zucker brothers are like, yeah, this guy. And he carries this movie. Our visual audience is just seeing the preposterous dance sequence scene. And I don't know of a guy who shows up in his first movie and is natural as this. But Andy, if you don't think it's his best, are you willing to say that it's good and maybe more people should know about it?
It's impressive that he arrives on the scene as a leading man in his first role. That is definitely impressive. Not as, more impressive than the singing and the musical numbers. I hate all the music. And
my God.
He released these songs apparently.
You could get them. I mean, you could get them when they came out, and
it's all shit.
Hey, just to remind people that Andy's the guy that thinks that Rage Against the Machine are better than AC/DC.
I did remember that, and that's shame on me for putting the two of you together and not realizing. Everyone knows that AC/DC is better than Rage Against the Machine. I just to start up, I'm going to say that Def Leppard's better than Rage Against the Machine, but I'm not going to fight anybody on that. I'm just saying it to be obnoxious mostly.
Listen, all I have to say about that. I can't wait
to listen to the one song of the whole 7 albums of AC/DC's catalog. If you want to hear the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, by the way, it is not broke. And you know what is broke is Rage Against the Machine. They hate each other too much that they can't even make $1 billion.
Yeah. Rage Against the Machine are so diverse. I love that one song of theirs with the guitar solo that goes woo, and you go, that's really different from the other one.
Well, you have such strong feelings about Tom Morello. You even feel like he started ruining Bruce Springsteen slowly but surely, just chipping away. Cayley, what were you?
Cunt.
Speaking of bald cunt, Cayley, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to tell you guys my favorite joke.
Not based on the footage I've seen.
What has 7 arms and sucks?
Well,
Def Leppard.
I know the
Def
answer.
Leppard.
And that's shameful because they sucked when he had 8 arms. When they had 8
well,
arms. Yeah.
that's how sucky they are. Is that you could continue playing the
Look,
drum beats?
I'm
Listen.
speaking to someone who believes that Great White is better than Aerosmith. So listen, I don't know. I know you feel that way. You feel strongly that way. Cayley, I look. We found this out when I was on the Murder Game podcast, and I swear we're going to talk about Val Kilmer. But Cayley almost went to that show in Rhode Island, the Rhode Island show that people were burned alive and died. You know, that's how much of a fan she was. Imagine if that was an Aerosmith show and you were burned alive.
I would not have been there. I wouldn't have even been a question. Come on.
Yeah.
I would rather swallow White than have to go see Great White. No offense, Cayley.
We go there. All right. So it's interesting because, you know, we're talking about Val Kilmer as a singer. Believe me, we were talking about it. And he also, you know, not on the soundtrack, but he sang within the Doors movie, the Oliver Stone Doors movie. He sang all those songs. And I was impressed at that time. That was probably before I think I even realized he sang the songs in Top Secret. So I felt like, you know, they're not the hardest songs to sing, the Doors songs, I guess, but I think he did a good job capturing that. That was always a favorite movie of mine because I thought I was a moody teenager who thought he was different and important. And then you realize, oh yeah, everybody likes those things. Everybody has those same shitty Jim Morrison poetry books that I had on my shelf. There was nothing cool or different about me. But I do want to play more music from Top Secret now that Andy says he doesn't like it. But we're sort of starting with what we believe are great performances. And
why is Andy cosplaying Tony Stark from Endgame?
What you mean after he died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's laying there after the snap. I look, by the way, to be compared to Tony Stark, compared to any era of Robert Downey Jr., especially Less Than Zero in the backseat of that car. Nice. If you can be compared to any era of Robert Downey Jr., you're doing something right, Andy.
Well, let's keep it to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang since we're talking Val Kilmer.
Yeah, well, by the way, that is a phenomenal role. And that's one of those movies that, you know, you see like, okay, yeah, this will probably be a good movie. I like Val Kilmer. I like Robert Downey Jr. This was as he's starting to ascend. But I know that you posted about that movie and some others. So, Andy, let's talk about Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I'll talk about it all day. That's one.
Okay, how about 2 minutes?
We did talk about Christmas, like on Christmassy Christmas movies, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is that for me. I watch it every Christmas Eve, mainly for Michelle Monaghan's tits, but mostly for the Christmas nostalgia.
See, that's the type of sexism I hate because she shows off her arse as well. So yeah. A bit of maturity wouldn't hurt. Well, like this is a pro Mud Hut show, Andy. Thank you.
Your affinity for Michelle Monaghan's tits is why your nickname is Ethan Cunt, I believe. I think that's why. But it's a great film, all the same. You know, even if you were watching it on television and they blurred out the boobs, it would still be a good movie. Or would it actually fall a little bit, Andy?
I think watching it on TV, it would lose something because it is overly gratuitous with the swearing. They bring it up right at the end. And what other movie can you get away with calling Val Kilmer Gay Perry for 2 hours? Maybe it didn't age that well, but that's what makes it great.
This is before Robert Downey Jr. was the last white man to not get canceled for blackface. So it was really a different time. And by the way, it's like 15 years ago. It's not that long ago. But that's a great movie, and I actually haven't seen it in a while. What's one that we haven't mentioned yet, Cayley, that you'd like to sing the praises of from Val Kilmer's great body of work?
Definitely a little bit of a lesser known one that I had actually forgotten about until his passing was Wonderland, which came out in 2003, directed by James Cox, Cox, and it's
Wait, James, what?
James who?
You don't even know what you said.
You don't even know what you just said. Fuck yeah.
He sucks.
In addition to that,
In
it
addition to that.
stars Val Kilmer as porn star John Holmes,
Yeah.
and it chronicles the Wonderland murders, and it's one of those like non-linear, like Rashomon style plots where every single character is telling their version of the story, and so everything seems unreliable. It's really, really interesting. I thought he did a great job in it, and I think it's just a wonderfully done movie.
Yeah, I actually hadn't even thought about that one, but I remember seeing that when it came out, and it was great. And so often when you would see Val Kilmer in a movie, you would remember like, oh yeah, he really is great. Fun story. I almost became his assistant on a movie. I never even got close to actually talking to him, and it turned out that the movie would have been Alexander, and I would have had to go to Morocco. There's a part of me that goes like, wow, that would have been a really wild life. And then there's a part of me that realizes my life might have ended on that trip, and no one
You
would have
could
ever
be
heard of me.
covered in cigarette burns right now. You could be covered in them.
I was told that was one of the most important parts of the job was always making sure he had enough cigarettes. Yeah, that's one of those gigs that I don't think like, oh, if only.
That's
coulda,
literally
shoulda.
I mean, that was like his on-set behavior.
Yes.
I think it was like a cameraman's assistant that he was burning in the face with cigarettes during Island of Dr. Moreau.
Just imagine how much better I'd look now if 20 years ago Val Kilmer had put cigarettes out on my face.
It'd be a good story.
Well, hopefully your face instead of his throat.
Well, you know what? That's true. We'd still have it if only he'd been able to use my face as an ashtray. Talking about leaving things on people's faces, Hughezy, what was something that we haven't mentioned yet? We're going to go through some of our personal favorites, but I think it's a great place to start. What you're thinking right now that maybe we haven't said yet.
Well, there's the later era of, or should I say, the middle era of his career, because of course you mentioned he started off as a leading man. But then he became a supporting actor through the later 2000s before doing the straight to DVD action thriller stuff. But he did some pretty great supporting roles in excellent films such as the Bad Lieutenant remake. There's one.
Port of Call, yeah.
You don't need to say that. And then he did a film called, I don't know if it was a big hit, but it was called Felon with the guy who played Deacon Frost in Stephen Dorff.
Oh, I can honestly say I've never even heard of that movie, and I've got his IMDb page open right here in another tab, and I still haven't heard of that movie.
It was based on the true story of these prisoners who were like set up by prison guards to have their sentences extended, and that the prisoners would sort of dare them to fight each other and go out and all this type of illegal betting shit. So, and he was in that, and he was fucking fat as fuck in it because he filmed it right after Alexander.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about how he ballooned up in size in later years, because he is featured heavily in one of the greatest movies of all time. And I think it's important to talk about that he's alongside someone else who did indeed balloon up. I am indeed talking not so much about the Island of Dr. Moreau. I'm talking about the documentary about the making of the Island of Dr. Moreau. And, Val's not really the problem in that movie. It's mostly Marlon Brando, and he meets the little person, and he just thinks it's funny to have him on set, and they rewrite the movie, and they fire the director, and the director becomes an extra. Have you guys seen the documentary that
Lost
I'm talking
Souls.
about?
Yeah.
Lost Souls, yeah. Thank you. It's almost like you saw what I was typing into Google, because I had the name of it last night, and then I lost it. If this was Hughesy's show, I would have just played a drop right now. But what were you going to say, Kayley?
Gunfights.
So yes, that is what I was going to say. I have so many thoughts about both Island of Dr. Moreau and in addition to that, Lost Soul.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree with you. I agree that Lost Soul does focus heavily on Marlon Brando being crazy on the set during the filming of Moreau, but it also talks a lot about Val being completely insane. And Richard Stanley, who is the original director of that, in fact, talked about how Val was just completely horrible to him. He was abusive to tons of people. He was rude. His performance in Moreau is horrible for me. There's a point
which one of them are you talking about? Marlon, Val, the
Val.
little guy, or all three?
I mean, all three, really, but in particular, Val. At one point, Val tries to imitate Brando later in the film. He's trying to imitate the Brando character. And it's laughably bad, and I think he thinks he's being serious. It's absolutely crazy. I actually also just had the absolute extreme honor of talking with Richard Stanley about Moreau on Cradled to the Grave podcast, which was truly wonderful. That episode is available now on Cradled to the Grave podcast, which was amazing.
I'm sorry, what is Cradle to Grave podcast? Were you a guest on that show?
I was. So it's Eric Hansen's podcast. Okay. He's absolutely wonderful. He goes through movies chronologically by year and talks about some really awesome stuff.
Well,
I thought it was going to be a podcast all about that great DMX and Jet Li film that we all love so much.
Of course.
Well, yeah, that's the next episode. But that's amazing. And yeah, I do remember what you're saying about the way they shone a light on Val. I think Brando was so much crazier that it didn't stay in my mind that way. But yeah, look, there's a lot of reasons why I'm glad I was never Val Kilmer's assistant. I'm able to do this show and talk about how I still appreciate his body of work. What were you going to say, Cayley?
I was just going to say, I want to talk also a little bit, tying this into the documentary, the Amazon original documentary, Val, that came out in 2021. Yeah. Sure. That really changed a lot of people's opinions about Val Kilmer. A lot of people really started to kind of empathize more with him. It's him talking through his voice box because he has the tube in his throat. He is he's trying to evoke empathy and sympathy. It's almost as if that movie, as if Val, the documentary, was a eulogy. And for me, the problem with that was that he's an unreliable narrator. So he just skips over. He talks about the whole Moreau situation, and he kind of like skips over all the cruelty and horribleness that he did on that set when talking about it. And it's just crazy to me that people like bought that documentary hook, line, and sinker, when I think that really there is some issues with how he behaved as a
Well, remember, the most important thing is that it did make us feel bad for him, because I did. I mean, I and it was, I thought it was incredibly well done. I love that he had so many home movies, which our visual audience is going to see. And, his home movies from on the set of Top Gun didn't feature the volleyball scene. I figured that he's probably got like 2 extra tapes for what happened when the camera stopped rolling, but that's neither here nor there. I think it can look, I think that anybody who you consider an artist, a performer of any kind, there can be a lot of questions about, are they actually nice people? And again, I was never his assistant, so I don't get to have to worry about that. But I did think it was a well done film, and it does also have probably the single most unreliable narrator, the person who's unable to talk during it. What did you guys think of that? Andy, I'm assuming you saw it, this Val Kilmer documentary.
I did not, but okay. I will put forth the idea that you need to think about the production of Island of Dr. Moreau from Val Kilmer's point of view before you start pointing the finger at this guy and saying, well, what a dick he was. Think about showing up on the set, this remote set, with the anticipation that you're working with the great Marlon Brando, only to find yourself in the position, like realizing that you're in a bomb, realizing that your experience with Marlon Brando is probably the complete opposite of what you thought it was going to be. That's fair. I think anybody that would have to go to work under like shitty conditions like that, I know that if I'm doing a shitty job, I'm not in a good mood. So, fuck.
But you've never done you've never done a shitty job. You might have had shitty jobs, but you always excel at all of them, Andy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I give 150%.
Unless that dog's at your house, in which case, fuck you. No.
I don't own a dog.
There's a dog somewhere, but it doesn't matter, actually. What were you going to say, Cayley?
I have no
Nothing.
idea.
You have no thoughts.
Well, I do agree. I agree with Andy's point there. I think that it is important to think about that. On the other hand, there's a level of professionalism that I think that somebody should exhibit. And there were many issues with the production of that film. So he definitely gets a little bit of a pass, except his acting does not, because, again, he was horrible in that.
Your thoughts, Hughezy?
And there's even footage in that documentary of that he sort of filmed himself. It was like he was trying to provoke a fight on set.
He puts that footage from Moreau into Val the documentary as if he thinks that the clips are going to vindicate him. That's crazy.
I'm sorry to have to drag everybody into another universe that unfortunately we spend too much time doing, but it's like John's version of the Kate Meany tapes, which he's like, listen to this and listen to it again. I was like, okay, but there's nothing here. Sam Bibley has an important question. Where's Trucker Andy's Mersch glasses? I think it's too early in the day for them, which actually counteracts the whole thing. Echo Pineapple said, star-studded guests and Trucker Andy, let's go. I don't know if you have like a war against the pineapple, but I didn't think that was a very kind thing to say to somebody.
I don't know who that is.
That's what I think of Echo.
Sure does make my jizz taste better.
It's a great point.
Is that true, Keely?
And yes. you meant to ask Carl. So Sam says Mersch especially needs his in the morning. Yeah, that's probably true. All right. So I wanted to. Did you finish? Sorry, it might be a little distracting to look at Hughezy right now, but honestly, you've never looked better. I think that there is something to be said about him thinking, like, well, look at this, and it's like, we kind of know that you're an asshole, but. Sort of looking over all of that, and it was very sad because it's the end of his life. And, his final role is that moment in Top Gun Maverick that, believe it or not, there's a clip out there of Tom Cruise talking about it. And you're going to be shocked. He was talking to Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel said he cried when he saw it. Can you believe that something made manly man Jimmy Kimmel cry? And it was seeing Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise back together again. But I thought that movie was fun. I was glad Val Kilmer was in it. If he wasn't, I was like, well, I saw his documentary. I understand why he wouldn't have been in it, But,
Top Gun 2, if you've got it on Blu-ray, it's specifically great if you have a home cinema because it's formatted for an IMAX screen, so it fills the entire frame.
If somebody did have a home cinema, how big should the screen be, Hughezy?
Well, let me just guess. Possibly around 9 feet by 7 feet.
Well, I don't have that kind of space, but one day maybe I will. Go ahead, Andy.
Oh, well, I wanted to piggyback off of Hughesy's point that I feel like Val Kilmer is better in an ensemble or as a second fiddle rather than like the Saint, which is very forgettable. I feel like his strength, obviously with Tombstone, probably the best performance in that as a supporting character. Maybe my favorite Val Kilmer performance.
And Heat. Also Heat.
I was going to mention.
Those are two tremendous films that they are ensemble. And yes, that's what a lot of people are mentioning, which is what inspired me to talk so much about Top Secret. But I'm not saying that those aren't, of course, brilliant performances, Andy.
Okay.
Well,
no, go ahead, Hughezy.
I was going to say, but Cayley was doing a series on Once Over with Cayley, where she was reviewing the Saturday Night Live films. And I personally think that Val Kilmer was in the greatest one. And I think it's the most recent, maybe it isn't. But MacGruber.
I think MacGruber was great. I loved MacGruber.
Yeah. The greatest, Dieter von Kunt. Was his name, and I was like, "This is he's brilliant in it. He gets his dick shot off."
Yeah,
the movie was made for you, Hughezy.
Yeah. The best on-screen death of any movie ever.
Yeah,
and ironically, that's the director who I think is doing the Naked Gun reboot.
the guy who did MacGruber. I mean, that's a vote of confidence. Although I guess American Cupcake and Luigi Greenberg might feel otherwise, but we will see.
What is people hating on the Naked Gun reboot? What's the hate? They the end of that trailer teaser is perfect.
Yes, it's very funny. It shows that they have the sensibility, and I do love the idea, the reveal of the little girl. Speaking of Tom Cruise and the amazing Mission Impossible movie, something I agree with Hughezy on. I'm not a fan of the second one, but I like all the other ones. Which some have said about the Fast movies, but I know you would fight someone who said that Tokyo Drift isn't the best one. You did bring up Tombstone, and I think that it is a great example of sort of, if he's not being a dick on set, like, oh yeah, this guy puts his time into it. Like, I'm sure on the set of The Doors, he was probably insufferable. I bet he made people call him Jim. I'm just guessing. I've never heard that, because it's like, oh, I'm going to inhabit the Lizard King. And let's be honest. I mean, Jim Morrison seems like kind of a dick. Yeah, he's probably really hard to be around,
Well, the thing about that is, and it's kind of like with Jim Carrey when he did Man on the Moon, they're trying to be like the Jim Morrison, or what was that guy, Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman.
Their personas. But you can go on YouTube and watch interviews of Jim Morrison. He's not like how Val Kilmer played him. Val Kilmer played him as Jim Morrison drunk on stage all the time, but he wasn't like that. So that's why I think The Doors is shit.
Well, it seemed really important when I was 16 when it came out. To be fair, I knew that there were some inaccuracies were me when I saw him, with the leather pants on. But the idea that he's playing him on stage, yeah, it's true. It's not like, Jim Morrison went into Jack in the Box and they said, can we take your order? And he said, the killer woke before dawn. He kept his boots on. No. What the fuck do you want to eat? Yeah. So I agree. I think that you're sort of doing that. And and I mean, Andy Kaufman, he's doing the various characters. I think the most honest Andy Kaufman ever was being on Letterman trying to wrestle women. I think that that's probably the most real that you see. But I did want to talk about something. I mentioned earlier that my singing the praises of Top Secret wasn't going to be the only hot take I had. So the hottest take I have regarding Val Kilmer is mostly considered a hot take among nerds. Believe it or not, I'm not as cool as you guys think I am. I definitely grew up a nerd. I might do some nerd content from time to time. Some of you may have been on. Actually, I've been on with all of you talking about Marvel on one show or another. My one appearance on All Apologies was whether or not Marvel had a lot to apologize for. And I think that the end result was just Eternals. But anyway, so my thought is, I said this earlier in the evening when I came home and I heard that Val Kilmer died. Just organically, it came up. I feel, to me, Val Kilmer, yes, he was in Batman Forever. He is not my favorite Batman. I don't think anybody would say that. But I would say, for me, he's the best Bruce Wayne, because you look at him and you go, yeah, this is a billionaire playboy who goes around town and he's crushing puss. And there's no doubt in my mind. Christian Bale, I'm like, I mean, maybe he's crushed like a puss, And Michael Keaton, it's like, okay, so you just put Mr. Mom in a tuxedo. And let's not talk about Affleck. All right. He always looks like he's got that cigarette out in front of Dunkin' Donuts. Like no matter what movie he's in at this point, that's what he looks like. What are your thoughts on me saying something that somebody would say just to stir it up, but I legitimately feel he's the best Bruce Wayne we ever had.
You're going to walk right past the puss crushing ability of George Clooney?
Well, he had bat nipples. And, but you're right. That's as Batman. And that film is as bad as Batman Forever is. Batman and Robin is so much worse that it does takes Clooney out of the conversation. Although one of the only redeeming moments in the Flash movie. Go ahead, Hughes.
Interesting trivia point about George Clooney when he was making Batman. He apparently was hitting on Elle Macpherson a lot during production. and she wasn't interested because she was dating at the time Norm Macdonald.
That's from what I've heard from other people, not Norm Macdonald. I've heard other people say that's 100% true. Yes, and yeah, because Clooney's not going to make you laugh. You know, that's what it really comes to. How many OJ jokes does Clooney have? Maybe 2.
Yeah, OJ was framed, by the way. But I think that Christian Bale wasn't that convincing as Bruce Wayne.
As Bruce Wayne, yeah.
Yeah, if you've got all that money, but you can't get that fucking wart in your eye removed. That's why you couldn't watch his films in IMAX, because all you're seeing is this, and the fights happening behind his eye, and it's like, cut it off. But with I thought that Batman Forever, he was a great Bruce Wayne in a McDonald's advert. I like the fact that you could see Drew Barrymore's public hair at one point. Obviously, nobody told her about that, what her costume looked like. But overall, I thought that Batman Forever, because of the great soundtrack by Seal, who's a black person, not that matters, and U2, who are Irish, and does
that matter?
Oh, in the 90s it mattered because U2 were actually good back then. So
it's so hard to remember, but it sounds familiar. I kind of remember U2 being good, but I'm not going to lie. It seems like such a distant memory. Your thoughts on any of this, Andy?
I enjoy the Val Kilmer incarnation of Bruce Wayne, and I don't mind that movie except for Tommy Lee Jones portraying Two-Face as Cesar Romero Joker. He's playing it like he's the Joker, and that's not that character. So that's my biggest problem with that movie. Yeah. And Chris O'Donnell's acting, but everybody else is. I love Jim Carrey in that. And,
you mean NCIS Los Angeles's Chris O'Donnell's acting?
Yeah.
Everybody knows if you want to learn how to be a martial arts expert, you do it while you're putting your laundry away. If you can fold a white T-shirt over a line, then you can fight gangs of criminals at the same time. Like, I think everybody knows that. It's almost cliched at this point.
We'll see if your laundry style can compete with my Jim Cotta.
But Cayley, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I would also just like to point out that Jim Carrey is awful in everything. He's a terrible actor, and he's a dickhead.
I mean, look, he can be a dickhead, but the female bodybuilder on In Living Color is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But there are movies of his that I don't love. You want to talk about hot takes? I watched Ace Ventura stone-faced and didn't laugh the whole time. So that's me. But I did want to talk about Batman.
I gotta go. I gotta get off this show.
Yeah, I'm with Andy here.
Hey, I'm just dropping facts. Hey, Hughezy just said he's not funny in everything. So Hughezy said what I said, but worse. Like, I think the mask is great. I like the mask.
That's the main reason why I want to leave.
You should see the sequel. The sequel that was so bad that Jimmy Kennedy in 2025 is still mentally recovering from being in it.
Oh, that Jamie Kennedy podcast that our buddy Carl covered recently, that's a tough watch. I didn't think I'd ever feel bad for Jamie Kennedy, but there it is. Did
you see who Jamie Kennedy's most recent guest was?
Was it Adam Hughes, the H-Man Hughes?
Chrissy Mayer.
No,
of course it was.
Ow. All right. I'm gonna thank you for that. I
was actually gonna guess Mario. Mario Bosco.
Oh, I thought
I was gonna guess.
Yeah. That he should be so lucky. Cayley, I wanted to get your thoughts on Val Kilmer as superhero, but more importantly, as the secret identity of said superhero.
Yeah, I never actually thought about that. I never thought about the idea of having one actor, and perhaps this is just dumb woman stuff, but I never thought about the idea that one actor playing two separate roles really truly could excel at one and fail at another. And Batman Forever gets so universally made fun of. I always really enjoyed it, perhaps because I saw it when I was a kid. And I went to McDonald's and I bought the Batman Forever cups, and I still have them, and I went to go find them so that I could drink out of them during this episode, but they're packed away still because I recently moved. I enjoyed that movie. Is it the best movie of all time? Absolutely not. Is he the best Batman of all time? Absolutely not. But I think that you're absolutely onto something about him being an amazing Bruce Wayne.
But that whole opening sequence of them stopping Two-Face at the bank and then the vault gets swung through the city, that actually is that may be the peak Batman stuff that we've seen, and it was gay.
Well,
That's why I like that movie so much.
I really started thinking about this after the Matt Reeves Batman movie, and I thought that Robert Pattinson was an okay Batman, but he was an atrocious Bruce Wayne for me. And then I started thinking about like, oh yeah. Well, it doesn't always work that way. Not everybody can be Christopher Reeve, and he takes the glasses off, and you're like, oh wait, he's actually acting differently. He didn't just take the glasses off, so it's interesting because I guess he could have done Batman and Robin, but Val Kilmer, he tells an anecdote somewhere. It's actually one of the only clips I probably didn't come to the show with. He talks about how, somebody was going to come visit the set, and he stayed in the Batman suit, and he thought it would be fun to interact with this person's kid. And then they just wanted to like play with the car and go in the Batcave and all this. They didn't even care about Batman, which ties into a clip that Hughezy's not going to be excited that I show. We'll get to that in a moment. But so the idea is like, oh yeah, Batman's just like, it's the suit, and he hated wearing the suit, and he didn't want to wear the suit anymore. And also he realized nobody cares if I'm in the suit or not. Believe it or not, that's like the continuity is that he is still the Michael Keaton Batman. That's like the third movie in that universe. It's hard to imagine. It doesn't really feel like it. Joel Schumacher, obviously a far better filmmaker than Tim Burton. And yes, I'm joking. I sometimes even I have to realize like, oh, nobody's going to think that that's funny.
Is there anything to looking at it through the lens of the Batman 66 point of view, and realizing maybe that the Schwarzenegger portrayal and the Tommy Lee Jones portrayal is homage to the Adam West version of, like, it's like a big screen version of that. Yeah. If you look at it like that, it's almost digestible, but on the heels of the Michael Keaton stuff, this is absurd.
Imagine a younger cinephile, and no, pay attention, Hughezy. I said cinna as the first part of that word. Who's like,
does that mean every time you go to the cinema you get arrested for molesting a child? Or
I don't know what happens when the lights go off, but just imagine you're like, wait, there's like 10 Batman movies. Let me watch all of them. And so you start with Batman 66 because there's the movie version of that, and you go all the way. I can't imagine what that roller coaster's like. You're like, oh, I haven't seen any of these movies, and why are so many different people the Joker, and why does Cesar Romero not shave his mustache before he puts the clown makeup on? There's a lot of.
I thought the same about Drew Barrymore, but her.
Well, it wasn't so much the mustache, but yes. The Ivy matched the drapes, I think, is what you're trying to say. Well, Hughezy, before we started, you asked about something, and we know how you feel about Warwick Davis. But I thought that this clip, I hadn't seen it. I like Ricky Gervais, but I had never seen Life is Short. But I thought this was funny. So let's take a look at Val Kilmer having some fun.
I know him because we made a little cult movie together called Willow. Mr. Val Kilmer is stopping by.
Oh, this yours?
No, I just rent a unit here. I had to downsize recently for efficiency.
How much rage is in your head right now, Hughezy, just seeing him on a screen? And I'm not talking about Val Kilmer. I'm talking about Warwick Davis.
Yeah, I watched this TV show, and it was fucking awful. Ricky Gervais is an overrated hack. I specifically hate Warwick Davis, and this next scene, it's just a typically badly written, plot hole filled scene. And I'll explain why Ricky Gervais is so terrible afterwards.
Well,
Fat bastard.
I like Ricky Gervais, and this made me laugh.
Have you got a secretary?
Yeah.
I've got a routine that I always do, and it kills.
Okay.
All right, just a sec.
So for our audio audience, he gets out the Batman mask.
Little surprise for you here, Cheryl.
Batman.
Yeah, but who is it?
Batman.
Right, but who's behind the mask? It's not just any person.
It is a person, though. It's not the real Batman. That's a comic.
Yeah, you're right. But it's who's under the mask that's a surprise. It's someone who played Batman in the films.
What films?
The Batman films. Have you seen those films?
Yeah.
Good, right. So, who is it?
Christian Bale.
No, earlier than that.
Michael Keaton.
No,
Is it George Clooney?
no,
I love George Clooney.
no, it's not George Clooney.
Oh, I wish it was George Clooney.
Well, it isn't. Who else played Batman?
Adam West.
How is it fucking Adam West? He's about 85. Guess again.
I've named all the Batmans.
No, you haven't. Who else is there?
Is it the cartoon version?
Don't even know what that means.
Batman.
Oh, this is embarrassing. Sorry about this, Val. Oh, said his name. So you got Val. Who is it?
Is it Michael Keaton?
Forget it. Take it off.
Oh wait.
It's Val Kilmer.
Oh, you're an actor.
So that was the intent on ending in the laugh. In the silence, that clip feels longer than when I pulled it. But please, Hughezy, I would like to get your thoughts on what we just witnessed. It seemed to me, I'm like, oh look, Val's having fun with his former castmate, and he can laugh at himself. But what's your takeaway from all that?
Yeah, so the joke is that this the receptionist is a fucking such a Batman fan that she knows all about the Batman film series and the animated version and the TV show from the 1960s. But the one that she didn't know about was the biggest hit of the 90s. It's like it's a stupid fucking joke.
I mean, it's definitely a joke, but I do, yeah, when you start trying to bring reality into it, I think it's funny. She doesn't even know he's an actor. So that means she's never seen any of the great movies that we're talking about. I mean, she also never saw Tombstone or The Saint, or the movie where he played the blind guy, right? There was like a romantic comedy that he was in, I think, that he was blind.
Yeah, or the Willow poster behind her that she would see every day sitting down and go, I wonder who that is.
Hey, her back is to the poster, Hughezy.
As it should be, right, guys?
Yeah, I would turn my back specifically on the television series that was so bad they stripped it from Disney. They won't even feature it on their channel. It was so bad.
What, Life is Short is one of those things that's gone away.
And the Willows.
No, Will. Yeah, wow, that's a tax write-down. My wife worked for a show on Disney Plus that disappeared for a tax write-down. But yeah, you would think that Willow was a property that, Willow, the TV series, was one of those things of like, okay, maybe I'll check it out. And I waited too long because now I can literally never see it. Do you have any thoughts on that, Kayley? I thought it was fun, but maybe I'm in the minority here.
It was very Ricky Gervais.
That's true.
I generally like him. This was it felt too much like a gag. Like I was like, all right, I get where we're going with it.
And kudos to whoever took the line out of the script and didn't have her say Kevin Conroy and just said the cartoon one. But all right, well, maybe I'll win you guys over. I saw this. How about a clip from everybody's favorite show, the greatest television series in history, Entourage?
Fluorescence in the vegetation chamber.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
The little thing with lights on.
Hey, baby.
Doka.
How are you doing?
Oh, that's your channel name. Fiona's channel name is Doka. Oh, you're an ancient wisdom giver. Who Fiona is? Duh. Johnny Drama.
I do like.
I'm Johnny Drama. I'm a fan, man.
Anything involving Johnny Drama.
When's the next season of Viking Quest, dude? It got canceled 7 years ago. Bummer. Yeah.
So
getting busted.
Yeah, as
busted,
the drug dealer
character. I don't steal.
So, look, he's here to have some fun. I can't imagine he smelled good in that get up. They've got him as that. So it seemed like he would do some fun stuff later in his career when he still could. And I'd completely forgotten about this actually because I've tried to use one of those Men in Black devices on me about Entourage, especially the movie. By the way, I do have to bring a contrary opinion in here from Luigi Greenberg. Life is Short was amazing. Hughezy, thoughts?
No, life is shit, and that's why it got cancelled so quickly. It was just an excuse and it made no logical sense that in it's a documentary about that freak Warwick Davis, that Ricky Gervais would allow himself to be filmed in it every day, and it was a way for Ricky Gervais to do scenes with fucking famous people. The only time it was funny was when Liam Neeson was on it, and he was auditioning to do stand-up comedy, but he was like super negative and kept talking about having AIDS. That was the only time it was. Yeah. I
mean, hear you say it sounds funny, so I feel like I would want to check that out. One more clip I want to make sure we show is something that I'll always kick myself that I never went to one of these. Val would do these sort of around town a lot. I think it started out just in like cemeteries in LA. They were ticketed events. You could go and see them, and then he started doing them in theaters. These one-man shows that he did for, I don't think anybody asked for it, but these shows he did as Mark Twain. And I wanted to share a little of that.
Yeah, when I was about 11 years old, a year before my father died, I had a terrible teacher, Mrs. Strickling. She used to stand in front of our class with a switch behind her back. One day she was staring right at me and said, "Now then, class, are there any idiots in the room? And if there are, to please stand up." Well, after quite a long silence, I stood up. "Oh, my," said young Sammy Clemens, "why do you feel that you are an idiot?" I said, "Actually, I don't, ma'am. I just hate to see you standing up there all by yourself."
So, Andy, as we mentioned, you host a show called All Apologies. Do you feel like perhaps Val Kilmer did owe us an apology for just these self-indulgent Mark Twain shows? I would have loved to have seen one, but I might be in the minority here.
I'm not mad at this. I haven't seen it. I don't know how long it goes on for. It might wear out
it's probably a couple hours, so probably 2 hours. I bet there's an intermission. Yeah,
that's probably too much of this. But,
okay.
I didn't even realize it was him. So
yeah,
just peering into the role.
All right. Well, I like that. Do you have any thoughts on this, Cayley?
Self-indulgent, which is the word that Andy just used. I think that is a good way to describe Kilmer. I really think that he thought that he was one of the most amazing actors in Hollywood. I think that's probably why he was choosing to do things like Mark Twain stuff, because he thought that those were roles that he earned because of his amazingness. And I don't dispute that he was amazing in a lot of ways, but I think that his level of arrogance about himself perhaps overshined some of his acting abilities.
Yeah, no, I think that that can be true for so many of the great actors that we have. Interestingly, Hughezy, you had mentioned that Real Genius was a movie you never saw, and that's just a reminder how old I am and how it was on a little cable channel we had called HBO, and there were only some movies that they could show before 8 o'clock. So they would show movies that were at least okay for kids, I don't know, hundreds of times every month. So the idea of not seeing it made me realize you're not almost 50. But I wanted to know if Cayley or Andy had any strong feelings about that. It's, he's not the star of that movie, but he's the standout from that movie, I would say. And it's actually not his first movie. I thought it was, but Top Secret
Second
was
movie.
before. Top
I
Secret,
actually just watched it before I sat down to record this. And I watched Top Secret last night. I watched Real Genius this morning. Hughezy would be thrilled to know that the 15-year-old lesbian-looking kid almost has sex with a 19-year-old and almost has sex with a 33-year-old in the movie. So there's something for everybody in there, Hughezy. So check that out.
Well, there's definitely a few things for Hughezy in that movie. For sure.
Yeah. And Val Kilmer, it's of that Ferris Bueller. I know you hate John Hughes. Christian, but
No. I hate Breakfast Club. I actually like John Hughes. I don't hate John Hughes. I hate The Breakfast Club. It's one of the worst movies that I've ever seen, and I probably need to really spend an hour really explaining why. But I think Ferris Bueller's great. I really like Ferris Bueller, and you're right, so there is a Ferris Bueller quality. Yeah,
right, like a man child that refuses to grow up, kind of quality. And I just had to point out that the other guy that's the older genius is Uncle Rico, who is also on White Lotus, who is also...
Wait, it's Shuli?
Yeah, it's Shuli. They pull off the mask Scooby-Doo style at the end and reveal
No, so it's the guy who played Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite.
And the werewolf in Monster Squad. Everybody forgets that he was the werewolf in Monster Squad.
I love Fred Dekker movies.
Yeah. And but I just wanted to point that out because we'll be at the Dabble House with Uncle Rico. So plug.
But not that Uncle Rico. And people should go to dabblecon.live, and you guys will be there, in a house with the gang from Uncle Rico. And that's not where you're eating a stick of butter, Cayley, right? That's going to be at Hackamania.
No. The to steal one of Hughesy's words, the fart box in Florida that I will be in, aka Dabble House, will not be where I am eating a stick of butter. I will be eating a stick of butter at Hackamania in Vegas, which is May 7th through the 9th, and you can use promo code Cayley for 10% off your tickets for that. And I'll be hanging out with Who Are These Podcasts? Andy will be there. Christian, I think you're gonna.
I don't even know if I'm doing anything, but I'm definitely gonna be there. It's the 9th through the 11th of May. By the way,
I said the right dates.
Yeah,
I'm great at this.
Yeah, and do you guys each have competing promo codes for Hackamania? Like, does Andy have one?
I have one. I got lucky.
You just always say promo code CUM because it makes you laugh. Yeah, all right. But no, use promo code Cayley. Good. Yeah, I'm hoping.
CUM is a good one.
Can I break some news, or should I say news that I've just discovered here?
Please, yes.
They're making Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 2.
No, I hadn't heard that.
Who's making it?
Is that Tarantino's final movie?
No, David Fincher is directing it. Tarantino has written it, and Brad Pitt and DiCaprio are coming back.
What? It's not April 1st.
Yeah, everybody thought it was, but apparently it's actually true, and Netflix are making it.
Yeah, Variety is reported. This is apparently 2 days ago. Jesus, I had not heard this. This is breaking news, but not a good kind. And Val Kilmer dying was bad too, but this is also really bad. I love David Fincher, but it sounds like an awful idea.
Well, Fincher would be a subject of an upcoming roundtable. So, because I think he's a hack as well.
But what we do have coming up over there on Hughezy Entertainment on Sunday is M. Night Shyamalan a hack? Yes, he is. But I know you tune in and see what everybody else says. But yeah, he's a hack. But I want to make sure that Cayley, I feel like I didn't ask you about Real Genius. You talked about Fred Dekker. You talk about people who sort of get some of those roles, and you kind of get to. I feel like that's where a lot of people probably first saw Val Kilmer, because most people didn't see Top Secret. Yeah,
I think that you're totally right, and Real Genius is a movie that I look back on fondly, but I never want to rewatch.
That's fair.
And I never know when a movie is something that I have no interest in revisiting. That almost makes it the worst. Forgettable is almost worse than being bad for me. And that movie kind of falls into the category of forgettable.
What's interesting, because there's movies I don't want to watch again, which is Schindler's List. I'm like, yeah, it's great, but why would I watch it again? Hughezy, don't share any opinions. I saw the wheels turning, but there are movies like that I don't want to see. And then there's movies I don't even see the first time, like Passion of the Christ. I'm like, no, I don't need to see that. But this one, was it okay, this was okay, but I'm good. I don't need more of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I remember liking it. I saw it when I was relatively young because, again, it does kind of have that tailor-made to the younger sort of audience thing going on. And so do I know if I would critically enjoy it as a slightly more grown human? Probably I wouldn't, but I enjoyed it at the time. And I want to live in that memory.
Take it from somebody who just watched it. not worth revisiting.
Yeah, that's kind of
Wait.
my memory.
Is it better than Short Circuit or not better than Short Circuit?
That's better in the sense that they develop direct energy weapons to sell to the military. Children building weapons of mass destruction.
I do like that. Fun. By the way, Luigi Greenberg has this in the chat, which I feel like even if it's not true, it certainly makes for good conversation. Has anyone heard the story of Val Kilmer briefly living in the same house as Will Forte? Apparently, he listened to the Doors constantly and would dryly joke that he, quote, played Jim Morrison. I can imagine that's a fun, eccentric anecdote, but if I can find video of Will Forte telling the story, I bet he doesn't think it's fun. He doesn't think it's interesting. He probably hates Val Kilmer because of this. That sounds awful, by the way.
I feel like if that had happened, it would have been in Val, the 2021 documentary.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. I have no idea what Chris Tuttle's talking about here. I'm walking about with my house coat on at 4:30, so I know that means 5:30. I am Ferry's mate. I forget his name, which is bad. He's a good character and actor. Do you speak Scottish? I know obviously you're Irish, but I didn't know that. It's like how I can understand somebody from Tennessee talking. I don't know if you know what he's going on about.
I haven't drank in weeks, so no.
Well, let's see what we could do. Change it. All right. And he says Will Forte told the story on Conan. So
if you can't trust Conan O'Brien, who can you trust?
If you can't
not
trust
Val Kilmer either.
If you can't trust Paul Rudd to play a clip of Mac and Me, what can you trust?
A comedian's never done a bit on a comedy show before. So
yeah, but look, it's entirely possible. I was once told a story about someone who was on a flight with Michael Keaton, and there were some bumpy skies, and people started to get nervous. And he turned to the person who told me the story and said, "It's okay, I'm Batman." So I like that story better because it's not annoying, although maybe it is. I don't know. But now that I tell it, maybe it is annoying, but because that's what I want to hear if my plane's about to go down. It's like, yeah, we know. We know. You were also in the dream team. Okay, we've seen everything, Michael.
Yeah, I love The Flash. And by the way, the fact that you just mentioned the dream team is immediately a double thumbs up because I love that film.
I do. I like that movie. I was just saying, a movie that people tend to not think about. So as we start to wind down, I want to make sure that there isn't something that we forgot. We've barely talked about Tombstone, but it's almost like one of those movies where it's like, hot take, it's great. Everybody's great in it. Even William Peterson, So shout out to another show I was on recently where I talked about Manhunter.
Manhunter. I wanted to make sure to bring up the movie Mindhunters. It's a Rennie Harlan film. That's an ensemble cast that features Val Kilmer. It's a bunch of people that might not know. A bunch of like CIA profilers get lured to an island with serial killers, like a Jigsaw type of film that features LL Cool J and Clifton
from NCIS Los Angeles.
Yeah, bring it all back. And Clifton Collins Jr. and Christian Slater, they're all in it. Lesser known movie, but
I've heard of that movie.
It's good.
I'm sorry, Luigi Greenberg, you have really done yourself a huge disservice. It wasn't Conan, it was James Corden. Now I know it's not true. There's a 0% chance that anything on James Corden's show ever actually happened.
Yeah, otherwise known as Ice Cream Conan. Get it?
I get it.
He's bad. Yeah.
Something else that was circulating online in the last few days was and we featured on one of the shows that I did. Ben Affleck had some commentary on the great film Armageddon, which features Hughesy's favorite Aerosmith song, and he was just talking about how terrible it was to work for Michael Bay. So here is some not director's commentary. Here's actor's commentary from a film called Spartan, which Val Kilmer was in. And I'm not quite sure how much of this I'm going to play, but yeah, go ahead.
Before you play it, has anybody seen this? I just heard that this film is absolutely amazing, and I have not seen it.
I have not seen this movie, Spartan. It's a David Mamet film. And that's really important to keep in mind during the commentary from Val Kilmer. Have any of you seen this already, or are we seeing this for the first time?
In my video store clerk days, I have seen it, but it's very, I think it's like 20 years old. I haven't seen it in ages. Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hear this commentary from the
Val
late.
Kilmer. If you're listening to this and watching the film for the first time, you're really strange. And that's David's style. He writes in a lot of particular rhythms. That's why it's so frustrating when he cuts all the good stuff. He messes up his own rhythm. I don't understand him. He's cruel. He hates actors. Having failed in the profession himself, I hate him. The other thing is
It's just having failed as himself, and he's like, I hate him. Oh, there's more.
The other thing is the hair, his hairdo. What is that? Wow. I mean, and the glasses. What I find amazing is his courage, though. I mean, to still wear a beret in 2004, you gotta have guts. You gotta give that to him. He actually had to confess publicly that I was funnier because everyone knew it, and the only way to really survive my comedic genius was to admit it, and that way he could seem like he was still on the good terms with his crew, who hated him, and he knew it. I'm proud of this film and for David Mamet because I think it's the least cussing. I mean, to rely on profanity is embarrassing, really.
Thanks.
That's David's rabbi. It sounds like I'm kidding, but that guy I just shot, that's his rabbi. See, that's what I mean by sick. Here's the real writer of Spartan, David Mamet's daughter.
I love that. Here's the real writer's part.
I have to watch that commentary. That's amazing.
No, I mean, it's one of those things like, oh, this is probably a good movie, but this commentary sounds amazing. There's a little more that I'll play, but go ahead, Kaylee. You seem like you had something to say.
That's bonkers. Like, again, I know that everybody really enjoyed the Val documentary, and I know I keep kind of going back to that. And it was very heartwarming. It made you feel for him. But that's the feeling that I got after watching Val, is like, this pretentious motherfucker is like going off on everybody, and he was probably a nightmare to be around.
To be fair, he's
Who does
only
that on
going off on
commentary?
David Mamet. He doesn't have anything bad to say about any of the actors, the lighting director. He didn't get into a Christian Bale-like fight with. He really just doesn't like David Mamet. So let's get a little more.
David actually played a major character in this film, but he was cut out. It just wasn't good enough. David wrote it all. His daughter didn't write any of it. He's great. Pulitzer Prize winner. I think it's great winning a Pulitzer Prize, but wearing the T-shirt that the Pulitzers give you every day was, I thought, a bit much. But
I'm sorry.
Can you imagine? Okay, can you imagine? You're putting this movie. I assume that this was released on a Blu-ray or a DVD.
Well, it's just probably a standard def DVD, but yeah.
Okay, so I imagine that's how. Can you imagine? You're the person putting this together. You get this to edit it, to make sure that the audio sounds good, to lay it
match
over
it
the
up
movie.
to the film.
Can you legitimately imagine receiving that and being like, "What the fuck am I supposed?" And they still put it out. That's bonkers.
I mean,
bonkers.
It's as though you woke up to an email that someone said, "Hey, did you see Stuttering John on this local news morning show in Ohio yesterday?" So it's a gift, I think, when you get something like this. What are your thoughts, Hughezy?
This is the glory of physical media. Like there's a film, I don't have it, but there's a film called Kissing Jessica Stein. That apparently is infamous because whoever's doing the commentary, they get into a legitimate argument and somebody storms out. Audio commentaries used to be better, used to make everything so much better. And also, inappropriate comment, but his young daughter, David Mamet's, was shown there. She got completely naked in the TV show Girls.
Is she a musician or no? I think that's his girlfriend, but but obviously an age appropriate iteration of his daughter. What were you going to say, Andy?
I thoroughly enjoy this. The fact that he was paid to be in this movie. Probably part of the deal was you're contractually obligated to do this, DVD commentary, using it as a vehicle to just spite your enemies. And I'm hoping that, because when they used to put out these commentaries, a lot of times there would be multiple versions. It would be the director's commentary and then the actor's commentary separately. So I'm hoping that the David Mamet commentary is him just shitting on Val Kilmer the whole time, and Val's commentary is him just shitting on Mamet the whole time. And this is basically the first incarnation of stream sniping, right? They're watching shooting at each other.
There are these infamous Bond Laserdisc commentaries that don't exist anymore because they're sexist and racist and probably very honest about what went on making those movies. I think talking about all the women that Sean Connery banged in the course of the filming and things like that. Yeah, less for Roger Moore, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I love stuff like this. And yes, the idea that this is supposed to represent the movie and it goes out there. Directors' commentaries or, the DVD commentaries really were something. I used to love all the old Kevin Smith commentaries where Jason Mewes kept falling asleep and they go like, well, I don't know, I guess he's tired. And then they're all shocked when it turns out he's a heroin addict. It's like, really? He can't stay awake for 90 minutes of Mallrats. Although, I think a lot of audiences couldn't stay awake. Let's get back to this.
I guess after
Well-
it's been.
Oh, go ahead.
Dare you?
I was
I
just
love
going
Mallrats.
to say,
Huge fan of Mallrats.
Speaking of Kevin Smith, I actually really liked Val Kilmer's little cameo in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. That I was generally disappointed by the Jay and Silent Bob reboot and more disappointed by Clerks 3, I think. But I forgot about that actually.
Well, speaking of sobriety and speaking of auto commentary on the True Romance, I think it's the special edition. They did scene specific commentaries, and Val Kilmer came in because he played Elvis in True Romance,
Right, of course, yeah.
and he's hammered.
I like that. There's only a little bit left. I want to let him finish this highlight package.
Pulitors give you every day was, I thought, a bit much. But I guess after it's been a while since you've had any success at all, you start reliving those glory days a little sooner than you otherwise might have.
Speaking of Uncle Rico.
See, with the effing. Why has he got to go there? I think it was great that David hired Bill Macy to play a bad guy because he is almost insanely jealous of Bill. Bill's had a lot of success. They've known each other for 35 years, and success that has eluded David Mamet, to his friends in the theatrical circles. My actual blood. He's a taskmaster, and he insisted on real blood, and I gave it to him. This is Val Kilmer, and thanks.
So my favorite thing might be the David Mamet, and whoever posted this actually got that right there. And to Cayley's point, yes, it's very obnoxious that he did it, but that's why I love it so much.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's gold.
Yeah,
that's gold. I want to see Spartan even more now. Again, I literally just heard earlier today that it was absolutely incredible, and I had never even heard of that movie before, and now I need to watch it twice, it sounds like.
I bet that I could buy a DVD of it for under $8, and then I'll hand it off to you guys at Hackamania, and this way we can save on shipping. Hughezy, it's a different region DVD anyway, so you'll just have to buy your own. I think is the way it works.
But I think that auto commentary, it's the one thing that you'll never get on the streaming site. They've tried to do it on Disney Plus, but they do edited versions of the auto commentaries you get on Blu-ray. So go buy stuff, you fucking idiots.
And of course, it looks best in a home cinema. Now,
how would you know?
From what you told me, yeah,
exactly,
yeah. I'll be seeing. By the way, I'll be seeing the Minecraft movie over the weekend in a regular cinema because I have two kids that haven't been more excited for a movie in a very long, actually since Dogman. So it's only been 2 months. So
I heard Jack Black sings in this one.
I heard Jack Black's fat in this one, so we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, it's a difference.
What a change.
Yeah. So it's fun to have these moments and be able to you look back on the work. And there's so many of these movies that I haven't seen that we've just talked about. I feel like if I get that DVD, it's going to be really hard to watch the movie first and not just go right into the commentary from Val Kilmer. But I should probably watch the movie first. I do want to thank each of you for joining us. Hughezy, you sent me something in the private chat. I assume that this is what you were talking about from who is this in this? This is Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson sort of bringing everything back together from the start when we mentioned the Naked Gun remake.
Is this from Extras or...
This is from Warwick Davis's hilarious sitcom Life's Too Short. this is Liam Neeson coming in to do improvised comedy.
All right. Well, look, listen. If Hughezy wants us to take the time to show this, I'm certain it is well worth it. So just hang on for a moment, David Mame, and I'm sure I'm going to think of that the next time I hear his name. All right. So we've got this.
Wow. Okay, let's do some improvisational comedy.
I can't now, Liam.
Let's do some improvisational comedy now.
Okay.
Give us a scenario.
Right, okay. You're a hypochondriac and Ricky's a doctor.
Excellent. Okay. No.
Come in.
Hello.
Oh, no, not you again.
I've never been here before.
Sorry, I thought because you're a hypochondriac, you would have been to the doctors before.
Don't presume. That's a backstory we didn't agree on beforehand.
No. That's improv, though, isn't it? You sort of go with the flow.
I don't take notes.
Okay.
Can we go again?
Yep.
Because you ruined that.
Sorry.
Knock.
Come in.
Hey.
Hi, how's it going? What seems to be the problem?
I've contracted AIDS.
How did you get that?
From an African prostitute. I'm riddled with it. The prostitute's from an African country that's ravaged by starvation, so
Jesus.
Selling her body was the only financial recourse she had left.
Do you mind if I interject for a second? Sorry, I just think it's getting quite heavy, this sketch, and I just wonder if
You think,
perhaps,
Stephen?
just for the sake of comedy, you might not want to have contracted AIDS from an African prostitute. Just
Okay.
Right.
Knock.
Come in.
Hi.
Hi, what seems to be the problem?
As I said before, I've got full-blown AIDS.
Right.
You want to know how I got it?
Sure.
I'm a well-known homosexual actor.
Wow. Okay.
It was.
I wouldn't say the name just because of the...
I got it from a non-specific actor.
Does he know he has AIDS?
Who?
Again, I just wouldn't name them. And also, I just think AIDS is, as I said before, just a really heavy subject for comedy.
Okay. Could have bowel cancer.
Yeah. Cancer, though, and AIDS and famine are just not really subjects for comedy.
Well, how does he get away with it then?
We don't know.
Well, we shouldn't have a doctor in the sketch if I can't talk about AIDS.
Okay.
What are you suggesting?
You're a greengrocer and Ricky comes in to complain.
I've played Rob Roy McGregor, Michael Collins, Oscar Schindler, Zeus, for God's sake. No one's going to believe me as a greengrocer.
We could change your accent. Lots of actors do that.
Well, he doesn't. How does he get away with it?
Again, we don't know.
Let's just do our own accents and get this done, shall we? Okay, greengrocer. Tring.
We're closed.
I think the shop has to be open for us to do the sketch. Okay. Sorry. Tring.
Yes.
I'd like to make a complaint. I bought some fruit here yesterday, and when I got home, some of it was rotten.
That's not my fault.
Well, it's your shop, and it was sold on your premises, so...
I wasn't here.
It doesn't matter, you got to...
I was at the doctor's.
Okay.
I've got AIDS.
Thought you might have. Yep, that's it. That's really good.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna storm it, boy. Okay, brilliant. Good luck with that.
Well done.
Don't forget your little list.
Yeah.
You're off as well, aren't you, Warwick?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, see you guys.
I'm good. All right.
Cheers.
So what you're trying to say is that the rest of the show is nowhere near as good as that, but there's that one moment, Hughezy. That's what.
See, that's funny. Val Kilmer not being remembered from wearing a Batman costume.
This is much funnier than the clip I brought. Yes, you're right.
There you go.
All right.
So I win.
What do you win? The right to tell people that are you doing the show live on Sunday? I was about to promote it, and then I realized you record sometimes.
Yeah, no, we'll be going it live on Sunday with Cayley and Christian and a guy called Phil Marks, who may or may not work for DC. I don't know if he's a liar or if I'm just very gullible. Either way, he will be there on Sunday. We will be doing a roundtable discussing M. Night Shyamalan. Does he stink? Get in the chat and agree with whatever I say and blank out everybody else. Also, if you're a Cloverfield fan, go subscribe to Once Over with Cayley on YouTube because something good's coming at WrestleMania weekend.
Also, Earth Day weekend. Yeah, I had never seen The Happening, and you did this to me. You made me watch The Happening, and I can't wait to talk about it on Sunday over there. All apologies, Andy. What's been going on over there lately?
Well, we're approaching episode 100, which we are going to be recording, live streaming from the Dabble House on Friday. So stand by for promotions of that. We'll be doing a Simpsons trivia game show with some Simpsons-centric apologies mixed in just so we can check the box. But it will be WATP versus Uncle Rico facing off on episode 100.
I don't know that much about what Silent Mike and Zenhauser's background is, but I feel like they're going to get crushed in Simpsons trivia. If just Carl and Chris sat there and no one else made it, I still feel like those guys wouldn't have a chance. But I could be wrong.
We might have to do a schoolyard pick and get Cayley over on Uncle Rico, so it's a little bit fair because she's an encyclopedia as well.
Well, we appreciate that. What else is going on with Once Over with Cayley? I heard that you did an amazing episode on Nightmare on Elm Street 2 not that long ago, and that people are saying it's one of the best.
I did. I had the wonderful Christian Blad, if you've never heard of him, on so we got to talk about one of the gayest horror movies of all time. It was great.
Possibly the gayest. By the way, the only thing gayer is the fact that both Andy and I are drinking out of Baby Yoda mugs this morning.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Oh no, that's
just do it
for both of you.
JDI. Mine was a gift from my kids. What's your excuse, Andy?
I love Baby Yoda.
That's fair. I can't disagree. Go ahead, Cayley. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good reason. Other fun, exciting stuff that's coming up on Once Over with Cayley, like Hughezy was mentioning. Hughezy joined me to talk about Cloverfield. I'm talking about Stuart Saves His Family very soon in my continuing SNL series. So you're gonna get
fun fact. I saw that movie in the theater.
You might have been one of 10 people who can.
It's not that fun.
I believe so. I think that's a fairly fun fact. Look, you didn't have to sit there with me. I went with a friend, so 2 people saw it. That might have been it, though. Yeah.
And then, of course, I also always have fun murder game stuff. So you can find me on Murder Game Podcast on YouTube and Spotify as well. That is where we do hypothetical thought exercises. All 3 of you have joined me on that as well.
Who had the highest body count?
That's a great question.
I trap people.
Not Hughezy.
I trap people in the Superdome, I think, basically. So it should have been a pretty high number. Yeah.
I want to eventually get like a little system going where people can rank you all against each other continuously ongoing. So like you can always get bumped up or down in the numbers. So
I appreciate
just be ready
that.
for that. You're gonna,
you know what?
to find out how people.
Honestly,
feel about
I don't need to have killed the most. It's just for the love of the game. I just want to kill a lot of people, Cayley.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it really comes down to. Hypothetically, in the course of a podcast, just joking around, no actual deaths. I forgot we were on YouTube for a second. I thought today was Rumble Friday. Wait, it is. I forgot to do the show on Rumble, though, so therein lies the problem. Well, our audio audience will want to tune into our next episode because I will be joined by comedian Don Jameson, author Martin Popoff, Mark Giacchini from the KISS podcast, 3 Sides of the Coin, and Ryan Rebalkin from Worst of the Best, and also that Director's Chair podcast where I talked about Manhunter, which is the 4th best telling of the story of Red Dragon that one can ever take in. And it's an okay movie. But so it's the 4 of us talking about the 50th anniversary of the Aerosmith album, Toys in the Attic. But Cayley would feel like that album is trash compared to Once Bitten, the album by Great White that has their cover of Once Bitten. Trash. Yeah. In any case, you know, and I think Aerosmith might have had the better MTV Unplugged than Great White as well. But really, what are we comparing at this point? So people can check all that out. Obviously, stay tuned. I'm going to be in Nashville next week, so I'll be doing a podcast from there as well. Not as exciting as Dabble House, DabbleCon.live, but I will be at the how exciting does this sound? I'll be at the Rock and Pod podcast. So it's for podcasts about rock music. And the host of 100 Songs That Define Heavy Metal, Brian Slagle, will be interviewing 8 people at there. One of them is Billy Sheehan, so that should be fun. And I'm also going to get to talk to Hal Sparks. And what do you think I want to ask Hal Sparks about?
Queer as folk.
That's second. First, I want to talk about a queer folk that he did work with at one point. Yeah.
Then you want to act it out.
Hey, it's a long weekend. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
You should interview him dressed as Spider-Man.
I mean, I'm going to show up dressed as Spider-Man regardless of what's going on. In any case, remember we were talking about Val Kilmer before. R.I.P. Val Kilmer. Great to see Hughezy, Trucker Andy from the All Apologies podcast. Once Over with Cayley. Oh, and Cayley, you're on WATP this weekend, aren't you?
I am. Saturday. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I always know what to plug. Damn it. All right.
Schedules.
That's all right. Well, thank you, and we will see you all next time on the Bladtcast.